Robbie Chosen wants to return to the New York Jets. Would the Jets be on board with that? Plus, draft talk is heating up. Armand Membu at 7 seemed far-fetched before the start of the combine, but now seems like a real possibility. A lot to get into, and we'll break it all down and much more, all coming up here on a Wednesday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
J-E-T-S, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer, Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer, and Jets legend, Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
What is going on, everyone? Hello and welcome back here to another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk on March 19, 2025. Can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button and you are subscribed to the channel. It's completely free. Helps us grow significantly. The paid way help us grow. You can get into our membership raffle. We'll throw the leaderboard on down below. Jeffrey R. Shout out to him. He's leading the way with 160 raffle tickets on the month. You can get in the raffle. Every gifted membership will get you a ticket along with every $2.99 super chat. Prize we're giving away include a Wayne Corbett signed jersey, Darrelle Revis signed photo, Al Toon signed photo, Keyshawn Johnson signed photo, Jericho Cotchery signed photo, free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. So I can't thank you guys enough for all your support here on the show. Joining me right now in his weekly spot, fellow New York Jets content creator Matt O'Leary is kind enough to grace us with his presence. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good today. Thank you for having me again, Connor, and excited to break it down with you.
Appreciate you sparing some time as always, and we're going to hop right into it. I spoke about there in the preview of the show, kind of Robbie Chosen, and there have been a ton of different things with Robbie Anderson, a lot of off-field issues. See, I messed up the name there. He was Robbie Anderson, R-O-B-B-Y Anderson, when he was with the Jets after signing as an undrafted free agent. Then it was R-O-B-B-I-E Anderson, and then it was Robbie Chosen, and then it was all that. He's been through probably 6 names, probably more names than touchdown receptions in the past 2 years. I think that could be a fun stat we could look up another time. But before we get into Robbie Chosen, another wide receiver who's been linked to the Jets who visited the facility yesterday is Rondale Moore, 24 years old, 5'7", was really, really effective since he was drafted with the Cardinals in 2021, kind of a gadget type player. They traded him to the Falcons last offseason. You saw nothing out of him during the 2024 year because he suffered a season-ending knee injury in training camp. The good thing is he's not 30 years old or into his late 20s, so he still has time to recover from that injury. 1 year, I think Spot Rack estimated his contract at $1.1 million. I'd be on board with kicking the tires on a guy like Rondale Moore, not particularly as a 2-3, maybe a low-end 3, high-end 4 guy for a wide receiver room that doesn't have much depth.
Yeah, and it kind of fits the narrative that the Jets, or the angle the Jets have been going in free agency, where they've signed these younger guys who are a little bit of reclamation projects. And it's not going to be a costly deal. It'd be a 1-year cheap deal towards the vet minimum. And he's got a lot to prove because he's still young. He'll be 25 years old in a couple months. And if he wants to set himself up to get, cash in on a nice, payout, then he has to perform in this year to get that long-term deal potentially somewhere else. And with the current state of the Jets wide receiver room, I think the opportunity is there for him to get some playing time and have some receptions. Now, he's not, going to be, the next Justin Jefferson or anything like that, but can he be a functioning wide receiver for you? Like you mentioned, a 3 or a number 3 or 4 option. I think he would be, solid in that role.
Now, Matt, on a reworked deal, you mentioned how slim the wide receiver room is for the Jets. Reworked contract, would you be on board with trying to bring Allen Lazard back as a 3-4 type guy?
They just have so many of these 3-4 type guys. It feels like the good thing with Allen Lazard is he's different from the rest of the guys that they have. He's kind of that prototypical outside X receiver. And that's why, for full transparency, I liked the idea of signing him because I thought you'd get him with Aaron Rodgers. And we did for this year. It didn't work out that way in 2023. But honestly, I think he's underperformed that contract, and I know it'd be on a rework deal, but without Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't really have that I don't know if motivation's the right word, but it just feels like there was a massive
Yeah.
difference with Rodgers versus without. So I would say probably unlikely he returns.
Now, Matt, time to get into Robbie Chosen, formerly known as Robbie Anderson. I mean, Jet fans know him pretty well. Was a really, really solid undrafted free agent with the Jets, and then he signed with the Panthers to a 2-year deal after he left the Jets. I mean, 32 years old. He's kind of hit the peak of his career, and that was with the Panthers when he signed on a 2-year, $20 million contract with them in 2020. He had 95 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and then he signed another 2-year, $29.5 million extension. But then once he got to 2021, his production really, really decreased. Career low receptions with 53, career low yards in 519. Past few seasons, he's bounced around with the Cardinals, the 49ers, 2 different stints with the Dolphins. This is someone, Matt, who's over 30 years old, played 11 games with the Dolphins the past 2 seasons. He's caught 5 passes for 131 yards and a touchdown. Again, there are the lower level guys like Rondale Moore, who I would be willing to kick the tires on. Robbie Anderson, who publicly went out and said on CBS that it would mean a lot for him to come back and play for the Jets, he's not someone I would be interested in, not only given the poor production, but the off-field issues that also come with him.
Yeah, I really liked Robbie Anderson when he was a Jet. I thought he was an exciting story, right? As a UDFA, comes in and was pretty productive right out of the gate on, unfortunately some pretty rough Jets teams. He was able to produce. His best year was with Josh McCown in 2017, had 941 yards and 7 touchdowns. But I think his time has passed, unfortunately. Like you mentioned, 32 years old. Now, he would be a deep threat, which I think the Jets might still be looking for, but I don't think the answer is with Robbie Chosen. Again, I appreciated his 4 years with the Jets. I thought he was a solid player, but at this point in his career, I think you're taking bets on guys who are in their mid-20s rather than a 30-plus-year-old.
One of the most polarizing if not the most polarizing free agent the Jets signed, Matt, Brandon Stephens, and his contract details came out today. Mixed feelings among the fan base. So this is what his cap hit looks like over the next few years. $4 million this year, 14 in 2025, and $14 million in 2026. So they don't want to, they don't want to spread his cap number out evenly over the next 3 seasons. They kind of want a light year one, and then pepper the back end of that contract. Thoughts on how the Jets spread out the money here for Brandon Stephens?
Yeah, so a really cheap deal in year 1. Year 2, it gets bumped up to $14 million, which is honestly probably about the going rate for a starting outside corner these days. But they could get out of it after year 2 and save $8 million if they wanted to. So there's no guaranteed money in 2027. So that's why, I always say you got to look at like the details of the contract when it first comes out. Don't just look at the years and the number and what the AAV of the deal is. I think he's going to be the cornerback too for this team. I know there's been some debates whether he'd play safety or whether he'd be at corner. That's another guy who's a reclamation project. He needs to bounce back in 2025 after a rough year last year. But I don't think the money's horrible. I think they did a good job structuring this contract where it won't be a massive hindrance if it doesn't work out.
Look, something I really like, Matt, about the Jets spreading the money out is the cap goes up every year, and now the talks of adding a 19th week to the season, an 18th game, more international games coming in. The cap is going to go up a lot over the next few seasons. So I don't understand why the Jets would want to put in a $16 million cap hit this year and then, put 4 the last year of the deal and another 16 in 2026, if that makes sense. The cap's going up every single year, so you might as well put the larger cap numbers towards the back end of the deal. So I'm on board with the way the Jets structured that Brandon Stephens deal. Now, Matt, let's get into some draft talk. I'm going to start with 2 mock drafts that came out recently that were really, really interesting for the Jets. The 33rd team and Trevor Sikkema of PFF both had Abdul Carter falling to the 7th overall pick with the Jets, and the Jets taking Carter. Now, Matt, this is something, if I had to make a prediction right now, Abdul Carter is not going to be there at 7. He's 21 years old, arguably the best player in this year's draft. The reason that there's talks of him falling and not being a top 3, heck, even a top 1 pick is because of the foot injury that he suffered that was announced at the combine. But overall, an insane athlete, 12 sacks last year, 43 tackles, 4 pass deflections, 24 tackles for loss, all in 16 games. If he falls to 7, Matt, you run that card up to the podium. I just don't see it happening.
I was just going to say the same thing. If he was there for the Jets, I think it's an easy decision to take him. I just don't think it's very likely. I'd put it at like a 2% chance.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely he goes in the top 3 picks than it is that he's there for the Jets at pick number 7. As much as we might love that, I just don't think it's realistic. But man, would he be a lot of fun in this defense?
Are you still on the Ted McMillan, Tyler Warren train at pick 7, Matt?
Yeah, and I would throw Mason Graham in there too, even though that's another guy who might not be there for the Jets at pick number 7. I know Armand Membu has been talked about a lot. I'm not against taking Armand Membu. I would say he's probably 4th on my list behind Mason Graham, McMillan, and Tyler Warren.
Here's the thing with Armand Membu, man. I want to get into him. Really, really solid right tackle, climbing up boards after the combine. The Jets have forfeits of their offensive line in place. They're just looking for that right tackle guy. I really like Armand Membu as a prospect, but when it comes to overall value, I am taking a Swiss Army knife tight end 1 who can catch passes, who's a really solid inline blocker. You can move him all over the offense, or an elite wide receiver 2 in Ted McMillan before I take a starting right tackle. I just don't think the value is there in a really, really deep tackle class.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it, honestly. And I kind of feel the same way. I would rather get a guy who could be a wide receiver 2 or be a stud tight end for you. And I would hope that they could find a different tackle, whether it's in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, somewhere in that range to fill a need.
Ozzy Trapillo, man, I know you spoke about him in a lot of your videos. He's the guy I'm looking for with that 72nd overall pick. 6'8", a really, really big right tackle. And I think you can plug and play with him. What do you want to do with the right tackle position? I mean, there's still some free agent names dwindling on the market. I think Jedrick Wills is still a name who's out there. Kendall Lamb, someone who played for the Dolphins last year, is someone I'm super, super high on as a veteran stopgap option. With Morgan Moses walking in free agency, do you think you could see the Jets maybe signing a veteran tackle in free agency, back end of free agency, while also adding a guy through the draft? How do you want them to address this glaring need?
Yeah, I think you take someone like Ozzy Trapillo, who we've talked about a lot here, and have him compete with Chuck Okorafor for that starting right tackle job. He had a rough year with New England, stepped away after 12 plays in the first game.
Yeah.
He got mentioned.
About 6 pressures. Yeah.
Wasn't very good at left tackle, but with Pittsburgh, he was decent as a starter for a few years in a row. So I think he's kind of the veteran insurance, but I would hope that if you're taking someone in the 3rd round, that they'd be able to end up being the starter.
My question to you, Matt, is how much of a difference is there from a Okorafor to a Max Mitchell, Carter Warren type tier? That's the question. Also, both those guys were drafted by this team and are both are a little younger than a Okorafor. I just don't see the big difference as a right tackle from Max Mitchell, especially Carter Warren, to a Okorafor.
Yeah, I definitely think Okorafor is better than Max Mitchell and Carter Warren. They've had smaller sample sizes, both of those guys, but they were definitely, in my opinion, less productive. Now, last year, if you just want to look at only last year, yeah, it was really bad for Okorafor. But the 3 years that he was a starter in Pittsburgh, I thought he was okay. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. He was okay. And I'm not convinced that Max Mitchell or Carter Warren are okay. I think they're fringe roster guys at best.
Jackson Dart, Matt. We heard from Rich Cimini. We heard from Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano. Despite the Jets signing Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract with $30 million of that guaranteed, there are still talks about the Jets drafting Jackson Dart with the 7th overall pick. I wasn't on board with it before they even signed a free agent quarterback. Now it's even more crazy for me that they're considering drafting a quarterback with the 7th overall pick when you just signed someone to a 2-year, $40 million deal. That's another thing. The overall value is not there, especially for someone like Dart.
Yeah, I don't like any of the quarterbacks who will likely be there for them at 7 enough to make that the pick. I just think there's too many other needs on this team, and I would rather build out the roster this year than, in my opinion, reach on a 2nd or 3rd tier quarterback with a top 10 pick. And I think the expectations that come with the 7th overall pick would be unfair for a Jackson Dart or a Jalen Milroe, because I think the thought would be that they'd be ready to go sooner rather than later. And I think, there's talent there for both those guys, incredible athleticism for Jalen Milroe, and good traits from Jackson Dart, but I think they're a bit of a project. If you took him in the 3rd round, that feels a little bit different than taking him 7th overall.
Matt, are there any tight ends you like in this year's draft? I know you threw up a video yesterday about Terrence Ferguson and the Jets tight end coach Jeff Blasco being at Oregon's pro day. Any later round tight? It doesn't even have to be later rounds. It could be I know you're big on Tyler Warren, but even a Colston Loveland, Elijah Arroyo type guy. Mason Taylor, I know is someone who's super high on your list. Any tight ends you're looking for the Jets potentially bring in, as the odds are now dwindling that Tyler Conklin's going to be back on this team as each day goes by.
Yeah, so outside of Tyler Warren, who I think is the best in the class and someone that I would like at pick 7, some day 2 names, Terrence Ferguson's, I think, an interesting one from Oregon, really solid player. Mason Taylor, I happen to like a lot. And I like Gunnar Helm from Texas too. I know he didn't perform well at the combine, but he was hurt. He rolled his ankle, and I don't know if you saw the Ian Rappaport tweet. He tweeted out like his all swollen and bruised up ankle. And it's like, yeah, no wonder why he ran slow today. He was running hurt. But I like his tape, and I think he's a good blocker too. So for me, I'm looking for tight ends who could be dual threats. I don't think, like, I know a lot of people really like both Arroyo and Harold Fannin Jr., but I think for how the Jets are going to run their offense, they are too skewed to just like pass catching only and not as good of in the run blocking aspect. So I don't see the Jets targeting guys like that for the position.
Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button and you are subscribed to the channel. It's completely free. Helps us grow significantly. Matt, can't thank you guys. Can't thank you enough for hopping on. I'm going to stay on here a little longer, answer your questions, take your calls. But Matt, you got any final thoughts here before we let you go?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a slow period right now, but we'll get into NFL draft stuff, in the next coming weeks, but I'm excited.
Appreciate you all sticking with us. Quick break, and we will be back right here on NY Flight Jets Talk. He's Matt. I'm Connor. JETS. Jets, Jets, Jets. And we are back right here on NY Flight Jets Talk. I appreciate you all sticking with us here on this Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. As you guys can see, mentioned in the chat too, that hit with Matt O'Leary was pre-recorded, so I appreciate all of you guys being transparent. I completely forgot last minute I had to hop on the AFC East roundtable tonight. Shout out to my guy Richie for asking me to fill in again. So super stoked to be there, chopping it up. Dan wasn't there, but I was chopping it up with TD, Colby, whole roundtable crew. So check them out if you haven't already. But I appreciate you guys sticking with us. I appreciate all your support here on the show. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. Free helps us grow significantly. And then get into our membership raffle. Please, guys, it's a great way to help us grow. If you can give memberships, if you can super chat, every gifted membership, every $2.99 super chat will get you a ticket into our raffle. The prizes include a Wayne Corbett signed jersey, Darrelle Revis signed photo, Altoon signed photo, Keyshawn Johnson signed photo, Jericho Cotchery signed photo. Put that on from our merch store, channel emoji, click the leaderboard with the prizes down below. The more entries you have, the better chance you have to win. Just get in. Everyone's alive, so one ticket, that's all you need to get into our raffle. But please, 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 if you can, guys, get in on that. It's a great way to help us grow here on the show. Any questions, throw them in the chat. You can call into the show. The pinned comment at the top of the chat. Our guy Jet Up, Caden, my man, in the building, checking in with us here on the show as always. Channel moderator. Caden's always Caden, I don't think you've called into a show before. Caden's a channel moderator. Caden, if you're up for it, I'd love for you to call in. I'd love for you to talk some Jets with me. So hey, if you're up for it, call in. I would love to hear what you have to say on there, Caden. I know you're similar to my age too, but we don't know each other directly. So love for you to come on if you wanna chop it up. And I see say nice hat, bro. So I appreciate you as always, Caden. Says, who do the Jets target at wide receiver now that Rondale Moore is off the table? So you heard me talking about Rondale Moore there with Matt. Obviously, I said it was pre-recorded. We recorded that at about 6:30. So yeah, it happened about an hour or so ago, the Rondale Moore signing. Look, he visited with the Vikings first among any team. Here's the thing with Rondale Moore. I don't think the Jets if they were to sign him, I don't think they're banking on him for much. Someone who's 24 years old, he is upside, but coming off a gruesome knee injury. him off the table. You could look at some of the other options. I mean, Devin Duvernay was signed. I saw Darnell Mooney was signed. Like, the names are dwindling. We obviously spoke about Robbie Chosen there, Robbie Anderson, whatever you want to call him. But I mean, you still have a Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen. If you want to go the veteran, I'm just gonna pull up the available names here so I can be fully transparent. I mean, a Josh Reynolds who has connections to Detroit, Robert Woods, Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd. Those are the names we're looking at right now. Like Allen Robinson, Lil Jordan Humphrey. Not very attractive names. If I had to pick one name on this list, I mean, they're all pretty much above. I'd probably say Tyler Boyd. Wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type guy, been a part of a successful offense. Boyd is probably the guy I would take if I had to take a free agent wide receiver on that list for sure. Good question though here from our guy Caden. Zachary comes in and says, "Is all this Jalen Milroe and Kyle McCord talk all smokescreen?" Interesting. I think the quarterback in the first round, so Shedeur, Cam, Jackson Dart, those talks that are still happening, I think that's smokescreen. I don't think taking a day 3 developmental quarterback is smokescreen. I could see the Jets doing that 1,000%. Why not? Use a day 3 pick, see what they have. There's no long-term future here that's guaranteed at the quarterback position right now. Why not take a flyer on someone in the draft, see what you have with them? So I don't think it's smokescreen. If I had to make a prediction, the day 3 quarterback I think the Jets are going to draft, I think it's going to be Jalen Milroe. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets draft Jalen Milroe at all. Alan comes in and says Ted at 7 pass. Why don't you want Ted at 7, Alan? Says Membu equal baby Wirfs. He might be baby Wirfs. He might end up being Tristan Wirfs at the NFL level. He might end up being Mekhi Becton. We don't know. I just think the overall value is better at wide receiver 2 or tight end 1 than going with a right tackle. Alan comes second. Jets need to acquire another pick between 742 and 73. Could do that in the trade back, but who are you trading back with? That's the thing. Who you traded back with? I don't get that. Like, what team is... Who's going to want to come up for who? That's the one thing I still don't understand here. Sean comes in. I like Nika Ami. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ami Oliva. Our guy Chris G from Next Gen Jets knows how to pronounce it. Nico I am Oliva. Something of that nature. If we don't take a quarterback this year, I'm probably go number 1 quarterback, but I like him. If we have a decent season, probably not getting number 1. I will say I think he has to develop a lot as a passer. I don't think he's going to come out this year. I don't think he's going to come out in this year's draft. I don't. Well, not this year's, 2026. I don't think him or Archer are going to come out, quite frankly. So it's not a guarantee. I don't think you really bank on anyone looking over a year in advance to next year's class. So in the limited amount I've seen him, I like him, but I would take Nussmeier over him. J-Max, we need to hype up Dart and hope teams trade to 6 to get him. Maybe no. I don't think anyone's going to trade up for Dart. Really don't. I think Dart, I mean, he's generous. It's crazy to say that Jackson Dart might go in the first round. I think he's a back of the first round type guy. That's what I think is going to happen to Dart. I don't think anyone is going to trade up for him, though. Our guy Jack Talks Jets comes in. Says, should I get a black, white, or green Fields jersey? That's 7 on the green would look really, really nice. I'm going with green. Got my white Brees jersey on though tonight. I'm going with green though. Havmo comes in, says no pre-draft pick trading going on. Some say partially the AR factor. Imagine that. Okay, maybe not his fault. I don't think there are going to be many big trades at least made before the draft. I don't think that's going to happen. 203 Grinch Golden at 7. I am not a big Matthew Golden fan. I'm going to be honest. He's probably my wide receiver 3, second round grade on him. I much rather prefer Mecca Ibuka or Ted McMillan. I think overall they're more accomplished receivers and I like their skill sets both better than Golden. Golden really has his speed. That's all he has to beat you with. Alan says, Connor, are you surprised that Glenn didn't bring anyone with him from Detroit? Keep up the good work. Appreciate it, Alan. I'm going to be honest, I was. I mean, it was before free agency. It was a guarantee that Tim Patrick was gonna be a New York Jet. It was a guarantee that Ife Melifonwu was gonna be a New York Jet. It was a guarantee that Levi Onwuzurike was gonna be a New York Jet. None of them are Jets. So I certainly see why people were surprised. And yeah, I expected all those guys to be Jets. So I'm a little surprised that he didn't bring anyone from Detroit. A little surprised, I'm gonna be honest. Hep says Dallas. I appreciate you tuning in. Here's the thing with Dallas. Who are they going to come up for? Genti? Why would they want to give up that much capital to come up for Genti? From 12 to 7, it's going to be a hefty price. I don't know why they'd want to do that. I don't think they're going to give up capital to go and get Genti. David D, appreciate you tuning in. Our Lions fans says Josh Reynolds did a good overall job with the Lions, but the 2 passes he should have caught in the 2023 NFC Championship game at FS begin a downward spiral for him in the NFL. 30 years old, someone you bank on pretty much. Yeah, maybe that's him. But he's nothing more than a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 3. Nothing more than that in my eyes. So sure you can get him, but I think at the end of the day we have a lot of wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 guys who fit that mold. You need to get a wide receiver 2. That's what you need. Zachary says if we draft Milroe in the 4th, I don't think we draft a quarterback in 26. That's what my gut tells me. I don't think so at all. I think if you draft a quarterback in the first round, you're not taking a quarterback next year. But a developmental piece doesn't prohibit you from trying to get your franchise guy. Because drafting Jalen Milroe in the 4th round is not or 3rd or 4th round is not a franchise solution. Sco says I want Justin Fields to do good with the Jets, but his wide receiver core is not so good. He only has Garrett Wilson. Ted McMillan, Tyler Warren, all these different guys. Go and get them. Weapons that could be really, really well used in the Jets' offensive system. Allen comes in. He says, Connor began this hype. Garrett to Garrett in 2026. Go Nussmeier. I really like Nussmeier, and I would be on board with that 1,000%, Allen. I thought it was going to come out this year. He could have come out this year if he really, really wanted to, but I think he's waiting till next year with that loaded class. So, I mean, he could have been solid. It's a solid option in this year's draft if he really wanted to. Jet up, Caden says Zadarius Smith's still a free agent. I've been talking about him. Caden on the older side. Knows Aaron Glenn, obviously. Still get you 9-10 sacks a year. I'd be on board with Zadarius Smith any day of the week. And he can't cost you the house either. So I wouldn't hate Zadarius Smith at any rate. Matthias, what's your take on wide receiver Jaden Higgins? Like Higgins, really like his versatility, really, really like his size. I would be on board with Higgins in the 2nd round. Him or Restrepo, I wouldn't hate in the 2nd round at all. So I like Jaden Higgins. Like his versatility, like his size, his contested catchability, route tree. I'm big on Higgins. All right, I think that's what we have so far on questions. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like. Hit subscribe. Going to wrap up here soon. So last chance to call into the show. And last chance to get your last chance to get your final questions, comments, thoughts in here before we wrap up. Back tomorrow, time TBD. Time TBD. So we're still working on that, but might have a guest, might not. We're back though at some point tomorrow, either 8 p.m. or later. Nothing before 8 p.m. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for sure because got a lot of fun content coming up on the show. We announced Next Gen Jets is expanding today on pull up the tweet here for myself on top of the show that we do every single Sunday. First, let me just pull up the tweet quickly here. For those who don't know who Next Gen Jets is, on the show, and it's growing now. Went from being every single Sunday to now we're going. So it's going to be Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sunday nights. Pull up this tweet here. Here it is. Here it is. Next Gen Jets, baby. We're expanding. So it's on this show. It's on this channel, excuse me. And on top of the Sundays at 7, which you guys have really been supporting, which means a lot with Chris Grasso, Jack Cotter, and myself, we got some more shows. Plus Josh Wolliver, host of Josh's Sports Report, joining the network. He will not be on our Sunday show, but him and Jack, starting this week, are doing a show on this channel Friday nights at 9:30 p.m. EST. So check them out on here. And then Saturday nights at 9:30, Chris G and I are on here chopping it up. And then Sunday nights, the original Next Gen Jets crew. So really, really looking forward to it. Can't thank you guys enough for all your support. Starting this week, Fridays at 9:30 on this channel with Jack and Josh. Starting Saturdays, this Saturday at 9:30 p.m., Chris and I on the show. And then Sunday at 7 p.m., the OG crew. Chris, Jack, and I chopping it up. So one more time, starting this week here on the show. Please stay tuned. Please help support the Next Gen Jet show. Jack and Josh, Fridays at 9:30. Chris and I, Saturdays, 9:30s. And then Jack, Chris, and I, Sundays at 7. So please, please, please stay tuned for Next Gen Jets. Some great coverage. Great way to help support my own work, Jack and Chris, along with Josh, and just NY Flight Jet Stock, the Connor Long YouTube channel as a whole. So I can't thank you guys enough for everything. Smash the like, hit subscribe. You guys are the best. That'll do it for me. Here on this Wednesday evening, I am your host, Connor Long, signing off. JETS, 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 Jets.